non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Welcome to Non-Stop Rock Talk. I'm your host, Tyson Bryden. Today, I'm very happy to welcome guitarist of Valentine, Adam Holland, to the show. Adam, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Thank you. Now, before we get into music stuff, this is kind of music stuff, but you two have your own podcast, which I checked out and really loved. Unfortunately, due to time, it was only episode 1, but I'm sure I'm going to get to more.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. But for those interested in finding out about your path and the history of Valentine and your musical career, this is kind of the perfect podcast to listen to. So before we talk about Valentine and other things music, tell me about the podcast, where it can be found, and primarily the reason for starting it.
It's a great question, and thank you for bringing it up. We were talking a little bit before the interview about, I was picking your brain. I'm a new to the podcast world, and basically, first of all, it's called Band Forever, and it's about guys like myself who have been in the industry for, years, decades, depending on what it is, but maybe who are not in the multi-platinum world, but yet have had deals or have worked as sidemen or some sort of interesting angle in the business and have sustained in the business, but yet a lot of people may not know about them. So the first episode, I thought it'd be a great introduction to my listeners about my own life, first of all, so that people could learn about my story. So my first episode was with Gerard and Craig, and we did like a round table about our life since high school till literally now. We've all been playing together that long, which is scary. And then other guys, like I had I've had Rob Hoffman, who is not only playing with Hugo in Voyage, used to be Evolution, but he also manages Extreme, Nuno, Rat, and various other artists. And I'm having, my next episode is with producer Bob St. John, who produced all those Extreme records, and Duran Duran, and then, some guys who you've not heard of, like Matthew Shad, who's very popular in the AOR community and a super talented guy and has done all kinds of great things. And, just a tremendous career in the industry, but he's not, again, on MTV, but he's still a musician, and working for decades. And there's some great stories, and all these guys have funny stories. I talked to Michael Stertow, who plays with Lou Gramm forever. He plays with Slaughter. He plays with the Guess Who. One of his first jobs, was working as like a runner for a local arena. And he ended up jamming with Def Leppard, like this crazy, cool. So sort of like it's somewhere in between like a therapy session and Spinal Tap. I don't know if that's but I wanted to get, these stories out there because and a friend of mine, Joey Casada, who played in Z-Rock, and he had a TV show. Actually, ZO2 was the band, and Z-Rock was the TV show, and he wrote a great book, and he played with the Augeri Band for a little while, and he really inspired me to go out there and tell these stories and put them out there, and the people who want to hear them will come listen to it. And there are, so far, the people do want to hear it, which has been really cool.
I mean, yeah, because you and I, as before, we were talking before the show, and you mentioned to me, you're like, well, you've got some bigger guests, but then you've also got guys from the era that were, same thing. They had record deals, they put out albums, all that stuff. Right. And I kind of mentioned to you, I said, you know what, I love having those guys on the show because their stories are always amazing. Like there's always, and then you find out stuff you didn't know. And for me, it's bands I grew up listening to, and maybe a lot of people weren't familiar with them, but to me, they're just as important as Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue. You know what I mean? Like that Correct. Is part of my life.
I agree 100%. And like I had Reggie Wu from Heaven's Edge, who we were label mates, and we had the same producer, and that's how we became friends, and we've remained friends. But their story is just incredible. And by the way, I'm fans. Everybody who comes on, I'm usually a big fan of. So I'm and it makes me go back and re-listen to some of the catalog, and I'm like, wow. It's been a very nice thing for me to go back and delve into these great catalogs. I had on Keith from Tora Tora, and I forgot how great they were. Oh my God, I was like, I just
I love
got
that
lost.
band.
I got so good, right? They're still so good, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And I got lost in their catalog. So it's for me. It's been like you. I'm a fan, so I enjoy. I could talk about it all day long, and this gives me a platform to talk to guys who also want to share their stories. It's been a fun thing. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I hope my fans. I hope people are liking it.
You were talking about Heaven's Edge. I mean, I still listen to that first album all the time.
Totally.
Still love it.
And the second one, oh my, I think that's like a closet sleeper. It's so good, man.
Yes,
Not
it
a
is.
closet, but it's just so good. So
Yeah, they're such a great band. But there were so many of those great bands, right?
Correct.
And it always drives me crazy because people always go, well, you know what, there was too many of those bands. There was too much of this and too much of that. But for me as a fan, I always thought, you know what, I don't see it that way because sure, there might be an element that might sound like somebody else, but most of those bands to me sounded like who they were.
I understand all the bands from the Valentine era, that mid 80s era, that sort of Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, Rat era, whatever you want to call it, Warrant, Winger, Firehouse era, which there's a certain sound to the guitars and production that I just like.
Me too.
I like that kind of production. So, and the guitar sounds and drum sounds and vocal sounds. So I heard, I listened to Hair Nation. Gerard was talking about that on my podcast. That I get in my car, I put on.
Hair Nation.
Let me just see what's on. Sometimes I like it, but every time I'm like, damn, I heard some Slaughter song that sounded fucking great. I'm like, damn, it's a good song. So
I know, and that's the same thing for me. It's
right.
I have Amazon Music, so I make playlists. It's like of my favorite songs.
Yes, I do the same.
Right, and you're like, oh man, and it doesn't matter how many times I heard that song. It's like "Don't Walk Away" by Firehouse off their first album. I love that song. It's just a great song, right? So,
I love the production of their first album.
Me too.
Yeah. So interesting, cool. I do a similar thing where I do like Spotify lets you make like example Firehouse. You can make a Firehouse radio station, and all of a sudden it gives you all these things that are like around it. It's pretty because you don't know what's coming. I think that's kind of cool. It's like Pandora-ish kind of,
That's very cool. I don't know if Amazon Music does that or not. I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
It's good. I think you'll like that feature.
I'll have to try that. Now, let's start off. Well, we already started off, but let's go into Valentine.
Sure.
The latest Valentine released, entitled Demos in the Attic, which I assume, of course, is a collection of demos recorded by the band. Kind of give me an idea of the timeline of when these demos were recorded.
Well, these demos were recorded, I'd say, between 89 and 91. Before we really decided to go after, before Open Skyz was even like a thought. So it was really Valentine's second record that would have been, for Giant, before it all sort of crumbled. And we bought some, in preparation for our next album, which we had started to do even, while the first album was out.
Yeah.
What you normally write and you do demos. So we had a few dollars. We bought some gear, set it up, and we actually moved it around a few times. But here's the thing, we watched Neil Kernan produce us, and we learned a few things about how to mic, and how to record and compress and effects. So we said, okay, let's do our best to make some decent sounding demos. And there were songwriter demos to present to whoever would be doing, the label producer. And these are those. We had a lot. And, some weren't so great, but the best ones made it to this release. And so what happened was during, the COVID period, which everyone was really just social media became the world to everybody's connections. Actually, I'm always on social, Instagram I'm on a lot, and I have a website, and 20th Century Music reached out to me, and I was like, I'm like, it sounds great, and I know, we knew who they were, but I'm like, I'm not sure what we have left over, because we did use a couple of things for Soul Salvation, which we did in 210.
Yep.
And also a lot of these songs did make it. There's about 4 of them that are actually on the Open Skyz record. The Answer, Golden Years, Take Me There, Picking Up the Pieces were written also in this time, but they made it through and became Open Skyz songs. So, but the point is, this album is really a time capsule. I mean, Craig and Gerard went back. We knew they were somewhere, but we didn't know where they were. And literally, the picture of the album cover, CD cover, is the physical. Craig had these two like trunks of
I was going to ask you that, actually. Yeah.
And Gerard too. Gerard had the DATs, so we didn't have everything on DAT. So some of it literally came from cassette, which is scary that people like, what's a cassette? and then the other, we had a few of the mixes on DAT. So either way, we did our best to EQ them and clean them up and remaster them, and there you go.
That's cool. That's cool. I can't. Is it available now to buy?
It is. It's just available. I know that the first pre-orders are now people just got them, and I think you can buy it right now. Just this week is when it just finally happened. So
that's awesome. I'm going to order it for sure. To be honest with you, I'm going to want it. Right? It's one of those things. I think it's cool. I think you're gonna like it. So that's cool.
I'm sure we can work out. I'll get you one. Don't worry. I think
Cool.
I think maybe you know somebody who knows somebody. I'm kidding. I'll get you one. No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Now, you mentioned about the cover, so, I mean, it was the suitcase full of stuff, which actually brings me to the point of the original debut album cover.
Yes.
That's a cool cover.
It is.
Was that cover presented to the band, and why the notebook and the candle?
The answer is yes. It was presented by, there was a great art. I forgot the guy's name. He was a wonderful guy, and his sister and Bob. I forgot his name. It's terrible. But he worked for a lot. He did a lot of '80s band covers, and as I've mentioned often, we shared the same management with Extreme. So the same guy did Porno Graffiti and all those cool characters.
Great cover.
And he came. This came with a concept of like this castle. I don't even know, like something about, there was like this haunted castle, and like you see the shadow, someone signing into the book. Truth of the matter is, I'm not 1,000% clear on it's a bit like artistic and just trying to be cool, but I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I'm not 1,000% clear on the storyline of our
Oh, that's okay, man. Now, that album was it released on vinyl? Because I tried to look it up and I couldn't find a copy of it on Discogs.
You know what? It was not in America. We were the first, I remember the first line of albums that came out only on cassette and CD. They weren't going to press vinyl. However, when we have done shows with Valentine and Steve Augeri overseas in Europe, people show up with
they
vinyl.
Have them. They do.
I'm like, dude, where'd you get that? And they're like, I'm not even sure. I don't know where they get. Somehow, by the way, there could also some Japanese import vinyl, I think, out there. There's some. If you want to get hardcore, there's definitely some stuff out there. I don't have a vinyl copy. I would like to have a vinyl copy. So.
Yeah, because like I said, I looked it up on Discogs and nothing came up. So it has to be very hard to find.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some way, some European distribution channel pressed some vinyl, but never in America. So there's probably, I don't know how, there are some out there. I've seen them, but they're not. I don't know where to get one.
That's crazy. I'm going to keep looking, and I will let you know too.
Thank you very much. I say, and right back at you. If I find one, I promise you, I'll let you know.
Okay, that's awesome. Now I kind of wanted to go back to the beginning because the story of Valentine's kind of interesting. Now, the band was based in New York City, then you moved out to LA, and then went back to New York City.
We were actually we all grew up in Long Island. We all grew up on Long Island, and Long Island has like two parts. There's Suffolk County and Nassau County, and some of us were from Nassau. Gerard and I and Craig and Hugo were from, and Neil was from Nassau. The other guys were from Suffolk. So it was not like a turf thing, but so we just weren't close. But then once we all got old enough to start playing clubs, is when all of a sudden everybody we kind of came together, and that's. But you're right. We started out in Long Island. We through our mutual. Desire to be an original band and with a certain sound, we all found each other, and we came to Hugo and Neil, and it all kind of came together. And then we decided that we didn't want to play covers. That there was a big cover scene happening in Long Island in the club circuit, and we're like, we just don't want to spend our time
doing
covers. We'd rather play less and work on demos and record. We always knew we wanted to get a record deal. That was our goal. And we had been out to LA, saw the whole thing, and like, holy shit, this is what we got to do. And we went out there, and it was really educational, but we realized it was like we had to all of a sudden like living became like the main goal as opposed to in music. We couldn't even get it done. It became counterproductive. So we just said let's take a crash course and let's take what we see here, and we're going to go back to New York and only do originals. Fuck it, we don't care, and that's it. And look like we, get our look together and get our act together, and it seemed to work. And the good fortune for us was that at the same time that it did start to turn. Like Danger Kit was coming out, and I forgot who else. There was some other Long Island bands. I think Heaven. There's another band named Heaven.
I remember Heaven. Yeah.
So, right. So there was a bunch of bands that were like, all of a sudden like we're going to also like play originals, and then the clubs allowed us to let us play a full set of originals. It did have a really good effect on us going to California. Even though at the time we were like, this is the stupidest thing we ever did in our lives. When we came home, it actually did really give us a kick in the ass. And after that, it was like really quickly things happened.
That's amazing. Now, I mean, were you guys playing like Long Island, New York City, Jersey? Were you playing that whole
everywhere.
circuit?
We were playing Westchester, Connecticut, New Jersey. Yeah, everywhere we could drive to, really. We never went further than the Metro, New York, a lot of Connecticut, Massachusetts area.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Danger, of course. Now, would like Trickster, Skid Row, and then Hot Shot as well? Were they all playing the circuit at the same time?
It's funny. They were more. We'd never really played with them, so I guess they were. But like they were, I guess in the Jersey, maybe they were going Jersey and West. I didn't really see them.
Really? Yeah.
In the club circuit that we were playing in, we were more Long Island. But they were. But it's funny, we didn't cross their paths until later on.
Yeah, it was just more or less a Danger thing, and
yes,
that's
they were
cool.
they were Long Island. Those guys we saw all the time.
That's funny. Well, I mean, Steve West was from Long Island, right?
Right. Bruno and Steve, we just would see them, and we had a mutual tour manager and friend, Todd Confessori, and he was like, the sort of bridge between. So we all hung out. We were all like knew of each other, in each other's worlds, type of thing.
That's cool. Now tell me what led to Valentine being signed by Giant. I understand that initially you were signed to Columbia Records.
Correct. So we, it was we really like one of those like really fairy tale stories. We came back from California, and we had a good friend who had worked in the business, and his name is Scott Bernstein. He, through a family friend, he knew Steve Lieber. He was working at Lieber Krebs and doing all kinds, young kind of runner stuff. But either way, he got us to rehearse at this studio where the Stray Cats rehearsed, Joan Jett rehearsed, Twisted Sister rehearsed.
Wow. Another
couple of Long Island popular bands. It was like a kind of exclusive place, but he got us in there. So we rehearsed there. Then I guess when Twisted was huge and started to, I'll try and make this short. I went back way too far to answer your question.
Okay.
When Twisted was doing their thing, they started to take on bands and produce them, like JJ's and Mark. There's, all the guys were doing things like that. D had a band, and JJ and Mark approached us because they saw us hanging. They heard us in the studio. They knew of us and heard of us, and we began to work with them. And Gerard and I were interning at record companies, just trying to learn the business. So we knew some people, and all of a sudden we needed an attorney. And then I'll make this long story short, but we ended up getting, not working with JJ and Mark. We still, they are really the guys who kicked us into gear. That I give them all the credit for the first people to put their
stamp on it, kind of faith. Yeah.
And then the attorney was like, I think you could, maybe you want to try this and this. So they're like, don't sign it yet. And then this guy, Scott Bernstein, took our tape to another management company where he knew SBK, and the rest is sort of history. We got managed by Arma Andin, and he wanted to partner with Louis Levin, who was handling Michael Bolton at the time. Louis Levin handled Neil Kernan, the producer Neil Kernan, famous, 80s, who had done two of our favorite albums, Queensryche, Rage for Order, and the Dokken records. So, and he loved the band, and he's like, I'm gonna produce your record, and we're gonna do the demos. We did demos with Neil Kernan, which was like mind-blowing. We were like little kids, like freaking out, because here was this guy we idolized, and he was doing our demos. And that led us to a deal with CBS. And we made the record recorded for CBS, did another album cover somewhere. There's another album cover out there. And so basically, after all that happened, we got, our managers, this getting assigned with this big management company, and then bringing on Louis Levin, and then bringing on Neil Kernon, who liked the band. So far, the music we were writing was obviously good, because people were starting. Everyone was like, "Wow, I want to be on board." So we really had it was good, and that was this sort of burst, that post-California burst of songwriting, and that it just, the momentum was happening. And then John Mervos, we got signed to Columbia. It was like just a dream come true. We did the showcase, and the guy's like, "I want you," and we were like you wait your whole life for that, and we made this great record with Neil Kernon, and what led us to Giant was a sort of typical record company things that happen. People change at the record company. Like a new president came in and then brought in his people and was just heading in a different direction, and let a lot of bands go. We were one of those bands. He let our A&R guy go as well, John Mervos. John went to Giant Records and said, "Hey, listen, I want you to come to Giant." So a wonderful thing happened. The Columbia listen, it was all one of those things. You look back, you're like, I don't know how it all happened, but it did. They let us out of the contract. Giant bought the record and took it over, and it came out on Giant.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if Giant ended up having to buy it. Of course, they would probably have to, right?
Right, but it was just, but it was already done. So yeah, it was just so it was the same sort of record. Just it was like a transfer, but obviously paid for it.
So this was, the album came out what, in '89 or '90? It
came out in September of '90, and we all, in a perfect world, if we would have come out a little sooner, it would have just gone to the Columbia machine, and we would have gone behind Warrant Firehouse.
Right.
That would have been us. But we missed, Heaven's Edge got stuck in the middle.
Yes, they kind of did.
Their record did come out on Columbia, but it just got no support. But we didn't even, we were like, behind that. They were like, nope, they didn't even put it out. So in one sense, I don't know if it's a blessing or curse. It did get some attention. We did make a video. We did minimal touring. We did have strong press. I actually worked for a public relations firm called JLM, and I was an assistant publicist, because I had also interned at Polygram, and so I knew what to do. There was an ad in the paper. I went, I got this job. It was really cool.
That's so cool.
And this band, the JLM public relations handled at the time Iggy Pop, Duran Duran, Yanni, Howard Jones, that kind of a little more new wave-ish stuff. Yeah. But there was a great publicist there named Kim Kamen, who has gone on to become huge in the music business, and she went on to another company called Levine Schneider, and they were like a huge 80s. They did like Kiss. She did like Kiss and all these massive bands, and somehow I convinced. I knew our manager. We all knew her, obviously. We convinced Giant to spend the money on outside publicity, and they did. And I was like, okay. We didn't think they were going to do it because they were just. Either way, they did it, and she really made us appear bigger than we were. We were in all the major magazines, full page pictures, the cover on some of them. We were really out there as if we were equal to Winger and Warrant and Firehouse, but clearly our record sales were not even close. But she made us look that way, so we will always be appreciative to Kim Kamen for that awesome work she did for us.
That's awesome. Now. I forgot until recently that Ali Sheedy made an appearance in the No Way video. That's
correct.
And I remember reading that back in the day in Metal Edge, and you guys were in Metal Edge
all the time. Jerry Miller was so fantastic to us. So yes, I want to give a shout out there.
Absolutely.
Rest in peace. We lost her. Sad thing. So.
That was for me. That was the Bible. It's like you got it every month just to see, and that's how you found out about all the bands. She was pinnacle in so many bands, right? Where the other magazines weren't as much.
Right, they catered towards some of the big guys, the Motley Crue, Skid Row, Winger, Def Leppard, Aerosmith, Van Halen, but she took care of all so she made the smaller bands, and we were part of that group, feel like we were as big as those big, the big boys, and it gave exposure to us, and then people would come to our shows and buy our CD. It was really, I just can't say enough about how wonderful that was.
Yeah, and were you guys in Rock on the Rise section in the beginning?
Probably. I think whenever we were in everything, yes. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
We were everything you could do, we did it. We did the baby pictures. We did the video. We did the,
Yeah, it was awesome.
at home with these people, on the road with us. She did, she was part of she was great. Whatever she wanted, we just did it.
I mean, that video looks great. I mean,
Thank you.
I don't know if I had ever seen it, to be honest with you, because Much Music up in Canada was we had a 1 hour show once a week. So they had to cram in a lot of stuff. So
I see.
So a lot of those videos we didn't see, and the only way I would find out about those bands was Metal Edge.
Right. Well, that's wild. So like Headbangers Ball was sort of an extension of Metal Edge, because they played for like, I think it was like 4 hours, and they played some old our kind of videos that weren't huge, but it's like millions of people saw our video. We got into some decent rotation on Headbangers Ball. We never made it past Headbangers Ball, but you know what? That's
still cool.
It was incredible. People, I mean, we saw it was out there, and people come to the shows, and people then, when they came to the shows, knew your single. It was pretty wild. Yeah,
and the only way we got to see Headbangers Ball on MTV was if a friend or someone you knew had one of those big old satellite dishes.
Right, and they'd record it, right.
And they recorded, or you'd go to their house and you turn on MTV, right?
Isn't that funny? That's like I'm thinking, what? Because it was cable provider. It wasn't like, it was right, so it wasn't even like, it was pre-internet. It was like wild.
Yeah, it was pre-internet,
right.
And I mean, the satellite dish was those ones that you had in your backyard that was huge, right?
Right, they was big as like a tank, right?
And then it would move as you went to the right spot.
Oh my God, that's pretty funny. Yes, absolutely. Wow. Yes,
it's wild, right?
That is wild, right? Oh my gosh.
So, I actually, this is funny. I bought the movie Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead recently.
Oh, good.
On DVD. So anyway, I'm going through it and I'm listening to the soundtrack and I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of really good songs on this.
No, there are some good songs, good bands on there.
Exactly. And you guys did a song entitled Keep the Faith, as well as Running Out of Luck Again was on the soundtrack, I believe.
Correct. And in the movie. Running on Luck, both songs were actually in the movie and on the soundtrack, yes.
Yeah, which was cool. And it was cool to see that.
It was. Great. That would talk about a cool thing, going to the theater and like seeing your credit. But it's cool then it was on HBO years later. And everyone's like, dude, I just saw your name. People would call, I saw your name on the credit. But it was cool to go to a theater and like hear first of all, the song we did is like, there's like some guitar thing I did. It's like a guitar section of just me, and it's like blasting in the theater. It was pretty awesome to hear, like, have it come out, and that was pretty wild, I must say. Good experience.
That is awesome. And Keep the Faith was a song written by someone else, I believe, and you guys
His name was Bill Ray, and Bill, he put together the whole. He was like the musical director for the soundtrack, and he put together all the bands, and it was actually on Giant. So there was a bunch of bands that were on Giant. There's a band called The Flame, which they were really good.
Yep, really good band.
Where they were from, right? Really good. I'm not sure whatever happened to them, but so
I think they're from the Bay Area.
I'm not sure. I know we did, obviously we met them a few times, but and then there was another couple of bands, but like young kind of AOR,
Alias,
other bands, and so it was a great soundtrack. And we know what, we had a great time making it, and like we all went out there to LA, and I remember they were out. All the bands were out there like together. Like Bill Ray was like, they kind of cranked it out really quick. So we went in for like a day or two. We did it really quick, and it was pretty cool. So and everyone was like in the studio, and like the other bands were like in the lounge. It was actually kind of like a community thing. It was pretty cool. That's
awesome. And that one is actually easier to find on vinyl. That album.
Oh, really? I don't have that on. I should get that. I don't have that on vinyl.
I found it on Discogs. There's a whole bunch of copies of it. So.
I'm gonna get one. There's also I have it on VHS and like whatever DVD or something like that. Whatever the formats that at the time were out.
I mean, the premise of the movie's kind of funny.
It's a silly thing, I mean, but it was what it was the 80s. Christina Applegate was like a legend. She was like, oh my God. Yeah. We did get to meet her at some point. I did meet her, and that was like a big deal. Being in a Christina Applegate movie in the 80s that was like, she was like the deal.
Yeah, she was huge, right?
So that was big. That was really big exposure for us. It was great.
Yeah, and I mean the premise of the mom going away, and then she's got to take care of the family and gets this big time job, and
yeah, it's not you can't really get to reality on a script there. You can't delve too deep, but it's a silly teenage coming of age comedy. So.
Yeah, I've probably watched it twice in the last year, to be honest with you, just because I enjoy it. It's like watching License to Drive. Like it's just one of those really fun type of 80s movies, right?
Absolutely. Definitely a classic.
And they always have a good soundtrack, hence why we're talking about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, let's talk about Open Skyz.
Sure.
So after Valentine, you guys start working on the second album. When did you decide to, did the band themselves decide to change the name, change the format a little bit?
What happened was it really, the answer is it sort of happened. And we didn't say, let's change the name, then go for it, pretend we're something else. That's not the case. We Valentine got re-signed to RCA. When after our deal ended with Giant, they didn't want to pick up, another long-winded story, but we decided not to go do another record with Giant. We were going to try and get another deal, and God bless us, we did. So we had really, really great management at the time, and they believed in us. And we, like I said, we were constantly writing and recording, because just to get everything out there. And once you felt the 90s coming on, everybody said, listen, just try anything. Just start. No idea is wrong. Don't worry about the 80s sound. Because again, Demos from the Attic is really an 80s Valentine record. But then all of a sudden, when that period ended, it just started doing different things. But like I mentioned, I think earlier, so The Answer, Take Me There, Golden Years, and maybe another song or two are what really got us the deal with RCA and Richie Zito. And he was one of my favorite musical periods of my life was working with him, because he was like, okay, we're just going to try it. We really wanted to evolve. He's like, we're not going to try and become grunge. It's not what we're going to do. But let's try to evolve a little bit. Let's see, maybe take it. Lenny Kravitz was sort of our target, like that rock, but like with a vibe. We're not going to pretend we're like a
grunge band.
We're not. But we could be a melodic, rock band, but yet not with crunching. It just changed the vibe a little bit. That's what we tried to do. And he encouraged us to write with other writers, which was really eye-opening and fantastic, and work with different, we just tried everything. We brought in some different people to play who would show us some mandolin stuff. Just different instruments, he all kind of vintage gear, just trying to get a different vibe. Again, not trying to deliberately be like, we're going to, again, be a grunge band, but not just try to not be a deliberate 80s sound. But I don't know how to say it that way. We weren't trying to pretend to be something. We were just trying to evolve into something. And then when we wrote this guy, Glenn Burtnick, who's a tremendous artist and songwriter, singer, he's just, oh my God, working with him was just unbelievable. We wrote the title Open Skyz song, and somehow that song, when we did it, and we loved it, it's still one of my favorite tracks on the album and one of my favorite songs I've worked on. It's just something about it. We just felt like it was a new chapter for us. And maybe everyone was like, maybe we should not be Valentine. Maybe it's something different. I don't know. And we did it. So it wasn't like someone said, you got to, it just sort of didn't feel like Valentine anymore. I don't know how to describe it. I hope I'm describing it.
No, that makes sense. RCA they more or less gave you the freedom. They didn't force you to change the name or anything.
No one forced us. They did suggest it. They said, because they felt the same way. You guys are you're growing. You when you started this and now we're here, it's not the same thing. So maybe, not that bands can change their sound quite a bit, but they were like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it just didn't feel like Valentine anymore. Yeah. Plus, we had a new drummer. We had Tom Mayo came in at that point, and it just felt like it was.
That's cool.
It was a step forward. I don't know. I can't. So it just was open. It was Open Skyz. I don't know how. I just can't say it. It just became a different thing.
That's cool. Now, was this working with Richie Zito? Was this after the Poison record or before the Poison record?
It was right after the Poison record.
Wow.
He was. What was cool about him is he was he'd worked with a lot of bands that we loved. He'd Cheap Trick, The Flame. He did that Poison record, which I personally thought was great.
It's phenomenal.
He made them sound like they evolved on that record. A lot of people gave him flack because they wanted CC, but I thought that was a great record. And he'd worked with like Eddie Money and just a different type of producer and different type of artist than we had done. Worked with Neil Kernan, who was also a fantastic and Romantics and Holland Oates. I mean, also a tremendous pop guy and song guy. But Zito was just a different thing, and he was like really pushed us to there was no limits. He just, let's try everything and let's write with everybody, and well, at the end, let's see what happens. Like, he was like kind of really. I think I mentioned it on my podcast for the band. It was the first time we got to we had a label deal, we had an advance, and we just went to LA for like months, and they put us in one of those little Oakwood apartments, and we were making the records. We did have most of the record. We had, like I said, The Answer, Golden Years. We had, good solid start to the record. But he was like, let's just keep, until they tell us to stop, let's keep writing and recording and try everything. And it was just a great, what more can you ask as a creative person to be able to get paid and create? It was incredible.
That's awesome.
I really look back, I really always cherished that period of time in my career.
That's amazing. We talked that Poison album. I have a buddy who we talk about that album because we're kind of like, what, that may be their best album.
By the way, it's funny. I love the John Corabi Motley Crue record, but some hardcore.
I'm the same.
So it's those albums, like when are yes, I think it is their best album, but it's not like a true Poison record. I
know, and that's the weird thing. It's like a really enjoyable album to listen to. It's so like the Motley Crue album or Warrant's Dog Eat Dog, which was a little bit heavier, but I thought the songs were really solid on it, right?
Correct, right.
And it's just those, I guess, as music fans, there's a lot of people that feel that way, but it seems like we're the only ones.
No, I think we're just in a small group. Well, by the way, it's like, I'm going to take this forward. Maybe I'm biased now, but even before I played with Steve Augeri, Arrival, I was like, holy shit, that is like, wow. The band went, I was like, I love where they went.
Yeah.
But here we are now. I'm, playing with Steve for over a decade, but I was a fan of that record before I even knew him. Before I got to really, I shouldn't say I knew who he was, but really got to know him. So, and people, the Perry fans though, were like, oh my God, who is this? How dare you?
Yeah.
So just sort of the same thing, it's just, it's hard to replace the original guy. It's in the band.
It is.
That. And look at Gary Sharon, that record was great too, but people are like, how dare you, who are you?
Well, I just talked to someone about that the other day, and I had seen Extreme at the M3, and I had never seen them, but I'd only seen Gary Sharon with Van Halen live.
Oh, interesting.
And I said,
that's wild.
I said, man, he was so good as the front man for Van Halen, and unfortunately, a lot of people didn't get to see that and weren't exposed to it, right?
Right. Listen, that was a third singer for Van Halen. Is tough.
That's right.
It was, listen, I was always an Extreme fan, and I was a big Gary Sharon fan, so I thought, I'm like, holy shit. And we got to see him a few times because we had the same management, so I was very lucky to have an inside look at that. It was nice. Cool.
Seeing him at M3 though, Extreme they were amazing. I was just like, wow, like he's so energetic, right?
He's I think one of the most underrated frontmen in rock.
I would agree with you, absolutely.
Their performance at the Queen tribute.
I was just going to mention that actually.
Seriously, epic.
Yes. For me, that was kind of the highlight of that was one of the highlights of that event, was the Extreme performance. I thought I just thought, and he was, the energy that he gave off too, and Nuno, of course, is Nuno, right? Right,
but that was, that was like Gary was the star that day. It was great.
Yeah, he really, he was kind of carrying the torch of Freddie Mercury. He was.
Well, those guys, they were always known massive, Queen
fans. Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned Steve, and I until recently I totally forgot that he had sang with Takedo on the third album. Shine, was that the name of it? I think.
I think so. Yes.
and I've never heard it, so I have to go back and have a listen to that because I don't think I've ever heard that album.
You will like it because it's. I mean, what's cool is what we did. It's a great record, and I happen to love Taiketo before. I know those guys too because actually Richie Zito did that record. So.
That's right, he did. Yes,
and I knew Brooke from the Metal Edge days. I knew we all talk about a mishmash world. And the first time we played Firefest, the original Taiketo was headlining, and I was like, I hadn't seen him in years, and they were so good. I'm like, holy shit, they were like so tight and great. And by the way, Brooke has filled in a few gigs for me for the Steve Augeri Band because of Steve's relationship. Taiketo. It's a crazy.
That's crazy, right?
Intertwined world. So great. So that record that he did, Steve, was a great record. It's like Taiketo with Steve Augeri. It's great. And the Steve Augeri Band, I think it was 2013, we headlined Firefest over at Nottingham. And, we played everything. We played some Taiketo songs. We played Tall Story songs. It was really a cool gig. The crowd went nuts, man. I
absolutely love the first track on the Tall Stories album, and I can't remember the name of it, and I love that song. But I can't remember.
I'm not sure of the order of the songs. I know the hits were Wild on the Run was the hit.
Wild on the Run.
So, and Sister of Mercy is my favorite track.
Well, and it's funny, I bought that CD on eBay years ago. By looking at the cover, I was like, oh, I had no idea that Steve was on it.
Oh, wow.
I looked at the cover, and it was suggested to me because I had bought something else. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this out.
Right.
And I put that first song on, and I was like, what the hell? This is amazing.
No, that record is so unique. I think they remind me of kind of that category of Candlebox. They were not an 80s band, but they weren't a grunge band. They were like a rock band in the 90s.
Yeah.
And they were like, I was always surprised. Like Steve and I, we recently talked about this. I'm like, how the hell did you guys get like clumped in with like 80s bands? You guys came out in the 90s. You so not even close to an,
Yeah.
But somehow they got associated with like an 80s thing. I'm like, dude, that's so not even like. So they were so good. Then they would. I didn't think they sounded 80s. They went on, survived the 90s, no problem. They were great.
Yeah, it's one of those bands, another band that kind of got lost in the shuffle, right?
Totally.
And it's too bad. Now, it's funny because there is so much of a Journey connection.
Oh, between me, my life is 6 degrees of like the outside of Journey. It's like ridiculous. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay.
But that is, yes, it's a funny topic in my, in our world, my world, Valentine world. Hugo, the way he looks, and his Journey tribute thing, and I played with that for a while. I mean, if we need like a Venn diagram, like a PowerPoint presentation. So Hugo, who's phenomenal,
amazing,
just always had looked and sound like Steve Perry. So it was a blessing and a curse, but it was just incredible. And then, of course, post all our label days, he did the tribute, and we all felt that he should have been in Journey, of course, but it didn't happen. Like, how could he not be in Journey? Holy shit! I mean, come on, it's so obvious. But either way, Steve Augeri,
he got the gig,
right? And
over.
We were like, oh my, incredible.
Yeah.
And then us now working with Steve, and then and Robbie Hoffman, who again was in the Pink, back produced by Nuno and Rob St. John. I mean, in the Boston days with Pat Badger. I don't know if you know all this great.
Yep.
There's an episode. I have an episode. Robbie, it's such a great, my God, intertangled mess of goodness. So
that's awesome.
He was my sub, and when I went on to play with Steve, he took my place and plays with Hugo now. And they've grown to Voyage, they're just tremendous. They took it to another level. So we're all like in this Journey world, but yet outside of it, it's definitely a funny thing.
That is.
It's a great thing. We are very blessed to play that catalog of songs. I always want to get that out there. We are grateful to get to play that catalog of songs.
And that's amazing. And we also forgot to mention that Arnel, is it Pineda? Hopefully I pronounced that right. Covered
I think so.
Picking Up the Pieces in 2020.
Correct. How crazy was that? That was like, what the hell? That was seriously that. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. That was seriously cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. I was like, whoa, that's awesome.
Another cool thing that somewhere, Bob Lefsetz, who's has a well-known music industry, his podcast and his blog. He did a great thing on Open Skyz like about a year or two ago. It was incredible. It was so random, and we were so appreciative. It was wild. So another one of those type of things. You didn't know anybody was paying attention to Open Skyz, and here are these guys, big guys paying homage to us. That was so cool. Arnell doing that was one of the coolest things.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. And it's funny. This is kind of a funny note. I was watching the No Way video, and you look at it was on YouTube, so you look at the comments, and people are saying about Steve Perry, and then there was a couple moments I was like, wait a second. Hugo looks more like Bruno Ravel in a bunch of those shots than he does of
but
Steve Perry.
Yes, maybe that's true. Yeah, but it's just so funny. People, he can't get away from it, so he just said "fuck it" and embraced it. There's no,
Oh, he doesn't. I watched some of the clips. He's amazing, man.
Seriously, they just played this weekend. I mean, I like I said, I speak to Robbie, probably multiple times a week on something. And I'm always like, dude, you guys are killing it, man. So it's so cool. I love it. I enjoy watching those.
That's awesome.
I enjoy watching them, climb and grow and just be better. And they're so good. If you want to see a journey show like authentic Steve Perry, man, I'm telling you, there's nothing like.
Oh yeah, even to go on YouTube and check it out because it is. Right. And even the guitar player,
Robbie Hoffman.
He looks like Neil Schon. Like he does that perfectly. It looks great.
Yeah. No, they're great. They are really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, getting back to Open Skyz, you guys recorded a version of None of It Matters, which was also recorded by Blackeyed Susan.
Correct.
The version you guys did is really good. I've always loved that song, and I had no idea.
What's the oh God, I can't. It's terrible. I can't think. I'm having a name block right now. But the writer of that song,
Randy Cantor.
Correct. There you go. Thank you. We wrote a bunch. He was that guy. Loved that. What a talented guy. We wrote a bunch of songs with Michael Caruso and Randy Cantor. Like a whole bunch. We just really got into that mode in L.A. We went to Philadelphia, where they're from, and he had written that song. He wrote that song. None of It Matters.
Yeah.
Like him and Michael. So. We always liked the song, and I'm like, it just seemed to. It was again in that Lenny Kravitz. I'm like, what a cool song that
Great
really
song.
didn't. We all felt it didn't get the love it should have on the other record. What was it? Dean.
Yeah, it was on the Blackeyed Susan, Electric Rattle Ball.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, it didn't get the love it deserved. So like, can we cut this song? And everyone loved it. Like, oh my God, let's do it. So we did it.
Yeah, they had a video and everything for it, and that album just didn't take off. They were on Mercury Records.
I'm surprised. He's so good too.
Yeah.
So we decided that was like the time we just all grabbed. We all liked the song, and we all decided to do it. So
it's a great tune.
It was like I don't know. We opened. It just had that great sitar-y.
Yeah.
I don't know, Aerosmithy thing. I don't know. Something about it resonated with us, and we just took to it right away.
Yeah, it's funny that I think it was the times though. I think there was so we had mentioned for going back to the Blackeyed Susan thing, that I think there were so many bands coming out that people just there wasn't enough to go around almost.
Right.
It seemed like
space, but there wasn't enough space. There were not too many bands to fill the slots. It was overflow a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I was listening to all those bands and I was trying to buy as much as I could, but it was funny when eBay came along.
Right.
Everything I couldn't get, I went and bought. I went and bought, right, which was great.
Right. Also, I'm circling back to bands that had a different singer. That who I love too. Remember we talked about different singer. I loved Lynch Mob. To me was almost like a better version of Docker. I'm like, I love that guy.
Only Logan.
Oh man, Wicked Sensation. Still one of my favorite records.
It was amazing. Great.
I don't know what made me think of that. Sorry.
Oh no, and it's cool. I've had episodes. I have one upcoming that I haven't posted yet, where we actually talk about replacement singers.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of my favorite replacement singers is Paul Lane in Danger Danger.
Oh yeah, that's a great record too. Yes.
Yeah.
What's that called? The Defiant ones?
The Defiance. Yes.
That's a great record.
There's two of them now. I love the second one.
Correct. The newest one is great.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, it was phenomenal, and they actually released limited copies on vinyl after.
Oh, nice.
The fact, and I was lucky enough to get one, which was great.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, I'm a big Paul Lane fan.
And what's it called? Robert, I forget, who's in Warrant.
Oh, Robert Mason.
He was in, brother, what's it called?
Cry Love?
Yes, I'm having a mental block. His Diamonds and something. That second record was great.
It was phenomenal. Yeah, he's done some great albums.
Oh my God, he played with also Lynch Mob. We did a great show pre-COVID with Brett Michaels. Firehouse was on the show. Warrant was on the show.
Wow.
And I made sure I told Robert. I said, dude, I love that second. Cry Love record. He's like, really? You know that? I'm like, dude, I love that record. So either way, Diamonds and Debris, I think that was cool.
Diamonds and Debris, and the single was Sugarcane, right?
So yeah, he's a great singer. So
amazing singer.
I made sure I told him because it's people. It's one of those things like people. I think people. I know I appreciate when somebody comes up with some random thing I did, and they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "You even know about that?" So I always make it a point if I see somebody, like, even if it's a little awkward, I'm like, I make sure I tell him. I made sure I told him. I think he was appreciative of it because probably he doesn't get a lot of credit for that record.
Well, I think I actually told him once, I said, if Warrant did a show and you guys only did the 2 albums you've been on, I would be okay with that. And he goes, right. You're probably the only person.
Yeah, the Warrant fans want to hear that. They want to hear, the first 2. Unfortunately, they want to hear. Same as Steve Augeri. No one wants to hear, the new stuff, or they want to hear those, the classic stuff.
Yeah, and that's just the way it goes on it.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes you think, okay, maybe they could do 2 sets and they do the classic stuff and then open for themselves as doing the other stuff.
That's a pretty cool idea.
It would be cool, right?
I like that. That's a great open for yourself. That's a great idea. Wow.
I mean, Def Leppard did it.
They did?
Yeah, they did it as one of the Vegas residency, and they went on as Dead Flatbird and did all the early stuff. I did hear that. Yes. And it was really cool. Wild. It was really cool.
Those guys, they're not at another level of incredible, greatness.
They're insanely great live.
Yes.
You go see them, you're like, wow.
And their longevity, and they've even almost grown, and they've grown further. The time has been wonderful to them. It's amazing. They're almost getting better and more popular. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, and I mean, it's amazing they've grown together as a band. I mean, that's kind of the same thing for you guys from Valentine as well.
Yes. Yeah, we were very lucky. I've been playing, I've been very fortunate to play with not only great musicians, but great people. And I think I was talking about this with Joey Casada. The older you get, it seems that the drama seems to go away, because I think a lot of I don't know how to say this in the nicest way, the not nice people maybe they seem to have fallen by the wayside, and the guys still left doing it are like the good guys. So yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody who's not doing it. I don't want to make that a negative comment. I want to make it a positive comment about the fact that the guys, I'll keep it to myself here, the guys who I play with, like Gerard and Craig, I mean, we like brothers literally, since 18. I've known Gerard since I'm 14, but playing with him. And now, playing with Steve since 2009, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's longer than Valentine and Open Skyz was even together. So we've traveled, we have covered some pavement. We have hit around the world, and it's been incredible. He's just a wonderful, besides incredible, talented human being, what a good guy. So we have the best, we're adults, but we act like a bunch of teenagers still. We still have a great time.
Well, that's part of being a musician.
Yes,
we get to still be like that, right?
The Peter Pan syndrome. That is absolutely what it is.
That's
no
right.
Question about it.
And you know what? I should have asked you this. I mean, how did you get that gig with Steve Augeri initially?
Well, when Evolution, I lost my train of thought for a second. When
That's
Evolution was, we were a popular Journey tribute band, and we did some shows for the Broadway musical Rock of Ages.
Love that. It was so good. And
then we started to do these monthly cast party things, where if you had every Thursday, one Thursday a month next door at this, I think it was a China club, some club. If you had a ticket to the show, you could get into the club next door, and the whole cast, they were obligated to come to this thing. So the whole cast was there, and you could come meet them, and then people would jam. Like Evolution played a set, but like it was pretty loose, it was small, like a bar almost. It wasn't like a real gig.
Yeah.
And then we'd always have somebody come in, 80s sort of persona, and sit in with us. And one of those, Steve Augeri, sat in with. That was the first time we played with him. And also, like I mentioned, Valentine played with Steve Augeri at Firefest. So we got, it's the first time we actually saw him. But we had known him because Tall Stories and Open Skyz both toured with Mr. Big
Wow.
So we always had some overlaps with him. And also our managers knew each other. So, but we actually knew of him from the 90s, from the Tall Stories days. But we know New York scene, CBS and the record. So we all knew each other. He went on to Journey. And we knew Tall Stories. He went on to Journey. And then post Journey we were in Evolution. Then that's when he was like, I'm looking to do a band. And he was talking to Gerard because Gerard wasn't in Evolution. He managed it, but he wasn't in the band. And then he's like, and Gerard's like, because Steve didn't want to do like a tribute. I don't want to hire a tribute band. That's not. I want to do something a little different. And just I don't know how it just kind of came into that. We did at first we did like one or two shows. It wasn't like let's form a band and go for it. We just did a show or two just to see like as a project to see how it would work. And we never have looked back. And that's when I stepped aside in Evolution to go with Steve.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I noticed you have a lot of dates. I was looking at your dates today. I was like, you're busy.
We are, and oh my God, we're appreciative because sitting on the sidelines, the older you get, time is more. Not that it's more important, but yeah, we're very lucky that we were able to almost fill up a good second half of the year. From June out to December, we have dates on the book, so we're appreciative.
That's fantastic. Now, with this new Valentine material coming out, will you guys get back together and possibly do some shows in the future?
That's always a possibility. We played together in 2019. We did a show with Night Ranger, Trickster, Danger,
wow,
and Valentine. It was a great.
That's a great lineup.
We did it. It was in Long Island because this gentleman Todd Confessori, who was all of our road managers, and he was like a common thread between all of us.
Yeah.
I mentioned him earlier. He passed away, unfortunately, at a young age. And instead of having we wanted to have a memorial concert. And we all felt that was like it was the right thing to do. He would have wanted this. So we all played. It was great. So the answer to your question is we don't have any dates booked, but it always seems that somehow every couple of years Valentine does a show or two here and there for some reason. So
cool. I'll be watching it.
Yeah, we're open. If the situation arises, we're open for it. Sure.
That's cool. I mean, you guys have never been approached to do M3?
We have not.
That would be great.
We talked. There was some talk about the Monsters of Rock cruise, but then I don't know. Then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and it never quite. But also, I guess the other side of that, the good news is we're all kind of busy doing these other things, but still. So the problem with like a Monsters of Rock cruise is it's a week. It's a big time. So it's a wonderful thing. So the answer is we haven't done any of those things, and I'm sure we.
I mean, there is a vote that they ask. They'll come out. When I went to the first one, they asked you to vote who you wanted for the next year. And I'm going to look up that vote because I'm going to put my vote. I'm going to write in Valentine on that vote for M3.
It'd be great because people would know who we are. It'd be a good thing.
Yeah, it would be awesome. And I remember that, and you mentioned that 2019 show because I had talked to Steve West and I said, you know what, I'm going to try and make it out to that show, but unfortunately I didn't make it.
I'm sorry. It was good. Also, it was like old school, like club rock and roll. It was like it was old school, man. It was like quick, hurry up, no sound check. Get up and play. And it was like I felt like I'm like holy shit. We're literally like
that is awesome.
Kids again. It was loud. It was like just like go for it. And you know what? We had a great time.
That's amazing.
It was. Yeah.
Now, Adam, I'm going to let you go, but I really man, that was a great conversation. I had a really good time.
Thank you. You covered. I think we covered the full spectrum.
I think we did. I think we did, and I thank you for it. Do you think there's anything we left out?
I don't know. It's a lot. We got it. Let's recap here. We have podcast, which is new. We talked about Open Skyz, Valentine, Steve Augeri, and all the intertwinings
in
between.
Yeah.
And we talked about replacement lead singers. We covered a lot of ground.
We did, and I thank you for that. So, I mean, where can people find? I think you mentioned this already, but let's do it again. Where they can get demos in the attic.
It is 20th Century Music, and it is Vanity Music Group. And I'm going to put, what I should do is I'm going to put a link on my website to Adam Holland Music. It's not up there yet, but I should do that. AdamHollandMusic.com. And you could also reach me on Instagram, which is Dutch, DUTCHNY22. People are saying, what's that? People used to call me Holland, my last name. Everyone in my youth, Dutch was like mine and my sisters. People would say Dutch. I don't know why it's so stuck, and people still call me that. So I went Dutch NY22. That is my Instagram world. That's where I post the most. But Adam Holland Music will links you to everything you need to go to. And 20th Century Music and Vanity Fair Music is what they're co-label. That's where the record demos from the attic is for sale.
Perfect. And of course the podcast I think we've touched on that, but let's touch on it again just so.
It's called Band Forever with Adam Holland, and you can go to bandforeverpodcast.com. It's also on Apple, Spotify, Google. It's all the regular places where you would find podcasts. It is you can just search it. It'll come up. And again, on my Instagram, I have a link tree. It takes you on my website too. Make sure it gets you to every place you need to get to. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good listen. So I totally dig it. So I would not steer anybody in the wrong direction.
I appreciate it. Like I said, we were talking earlier that I think the fans of your podcast, it's funny. I was telling you, I listened to your podcast, and as I was getting inspiration from my own podcast.
Yeah.
So I think that our audience it's slightly different, but I think the same type of feel of that sort of maybe unknown guy, the cool stories that maybe you didn't know about, but also some guys you will know about. But again, here's some things that you didn't know, and that I think we have a similar, we're looking for the same kind of information, but just a little bit different versions of the same thing. But I think our fans will overlap and enjoy both. I agree with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know I've got listeners and fans of my show that will really dig it. So
thanks. I think so. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you have a great night.
You too. Thank you, brother. Awesome, man. Again, I'm a big fan of yours, and thank you for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening.
Likewise. Okay, well, have a good night. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely, man.
Okay, take care, Adam.
Just maybe